future. But he did, and I think he lasted about a week and a half.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the West Ham Network. I'm Anton, bringing to you a West Ham Daily this morning. This is an early one for you, and it's more of an opinion piece. I mean, you're probably waking up to some reports talking about that Arsenal are in conversation with West Ham, or even Declan Rice's representatives regarding a move for Declan Rice in the summer. Now, this is an ongoing saga as a West Ham fan. We've known this for such a long time that we believed that this was the last season that Declan Rice was going to be in the claret and blue at London Stadium under the West Ham brand, and that come this summer he was going to leave. I mean, it goes back to, even before the interviews came out, I think we all anticipated that this was going to happen. But then you start to see the odd interview here. I think he done one with Sky Sports, and he spoke about wanting to go on and win things and progress his career as much as he possibly can. And nobody can fault the player for that. Nobody ever could turn around and fault anybody for wanting to better themselves in the career path that they're in, especially in football. And West Ham have continually tried to offer Declan Rice contract after contract after contract, which has led to us being knocked back from our current club captain. And that's frustrating. And of course it's frustrating. And there's so many things that build upon that. Now, what you're hearing is that Arsenal are keeping a sustained relationship with the representatives of Declan Rice. So, people go on about saying tapping up. What's the situation with tapping up? But the situation is that I don't doubt for a second that people will have been in contact with representatives to say, what's the situation? Where's his head at? And we don't know the full story with regards to it, but if he is looking for the option to move on, and he will move on in the summer, then he is going to be sounding out the best place potentially for him to go. He's not going to make that decision until the summer because he doesn't need to make that decision until the summer. But where does that leave us? Where does that leave West Ham? Now, at some point later on today, I'm going to put out a kind of rant from one of the other guys on the West Ham Network channel. He's been very vocal about it, very vocal about why he thinks Declan Rice, the situation with Declan Rice just now and what it would mean for him to leave West Ham. And I thought, do you know what? I'll give you my opinion. It's very rare I come on and try and give you my opinion. But yeah, the more I think about it, the more, especially when some of the other guys talk about the situation with Declan Rice, it's a tough one. It actually takes me back to when Mark Noble was retiring and suddenly club captain was Declan Rice. Was that a bad decision from the club? I'm not trying to blame Declan Rice for the current situation we're in just now. I'm blaming maybe the hierarchy for giving a player such a responsibility who's going to be leaving the club in a year. What does that do? Where does that set the tone? How can that be positive? I'm trying my best to see what the positive situation for that is. We all knew last year that Declan Rice was the starting 11 captain with Mark Noble, the club captain as such. And we saw glimpses of captaincy, you could say, in Declan Rice last year. But we also saw the juvenile, the youngster, the inexperienced captain in a Declan Rice last year. Obviously, throwing his dummy out after the Frankfurt game, and saying in several comments and making comments and doing certain things that maybe a captain wouldn't normally do, that we wouldn't normally see in those circumstances. But we have seen this on a regular occasion this year, and he obviously is extremely frustrated, and he's come off of a fantastic. Well, yeah, he has. I mean, he's literally one of the first names on the team sheet when it comes to England, and the guy has aspirations. And again, I'll remind everyone on that. Like, I don't mind when a player has aspirations to grow as a footballer, to get better as a footballer. But was the decision from West Ham to make him club captain the right or wrong decision? I can't help but think that's maybe now the wrong decision, because in actual fact, what does that mean for the future of the club? Surely you can't really build on a temporary platform rather than build on a permanent platform. You know, if you know something, I mean, I suppose we've built the London Stadium on a temporary platform, and you've seen it. Look at the construction site that we're on, and it's all hidden by tarpaulin. And maybe that's the same situation with the football team just now, and especially Declan Rice. And you know, I'm trying my best not to dig him out as such. I'm trying to work out the situation. I'm trying to work out, was it the right or wrong decision to give him the captaincy? Because for me, I'm maybe starting to think it maybe was the wrong decision. You know, building upon something that you know is only going to be temporary. What does that do for the long term? The sustainability of the club, everything that David Moyes talks about. Um, Running a football club, you know, you want to build for the future, build around your best players, young players. You're not talking about just a young player here. You're talking about a world class player. Because let's not beat about the bush here. Declan Rice is world class. He is phenomenal. He is fantastic. He is, you know, over the last couple of seasons in particular, has been providing us with, you know, 8s and 9s out of 10, sometimes 10s out of 10 man of the match performances week in and week out. And when all the other players play shit, he plays the best of the shit, and usually he's a 7 or 8, even in that circumstances. It's very rare you see him make a mistake. But it's more the temporary decision that's starting to concern me a little bit, and I wonder if that's a, you know, that set the tone in the wrong manner for this season. Because, like I said, it's inevitable he's going to go. He's going to move on. There's talks about 200k a week, and he was being offered that from West Ham, and he's knocked that back from West Ham supposedly. And Arsenal, Manchester City are sniffing around now, looking at bringing in this quality player, and he is a quality player, and it will be gutting for all us West Ham fans to see him in any of those shirts. It will be absolutely devastating to see it, because you think to yourself, you look back at what could have been, you know, if you could have won the Europa League with Declan Rice in that team, then we would be in the Champions League this year. And would things be a little bit different? Would we invested different? I'm not trying to say that I disagree with our investments in the summer. I actually really liked our recruitment in the summer. I think we've been extremely unlucky this season with regards to having players on the pitch. That's for another video, which I'm going to do for you guys as well. But I think that things like that could have changed, and we had opportunities. Maybe the window before the Europa League, the January of the Europa League season was the January window where we should have brought in a couple of those players that would have added real value to the squad, that could have taken us to that next stage. And maybe then at that stage, that could have potentially convinced other players of the longevity, of the sustainability, of the growth of this club, of the growth of West Ham. And for me, I suppose you could say the concern I've got is you build a team on the basis of a temporary captain, which I'm not sure is the right answer. Actually, the more I think about it, it's not the right answer. You know, and I don't think for one second that if Declan Rice hadn't been given the captaincy, that anyone would have looked more down upon him. It may have just given us that slight confirmation that we know, well, do you know what? We know where he's going. We know he is leaving in the summer. But giving him the captaincy, knowing he's leaving in the summer, you're talking about the man who's supposed to be the one you approach in the dressing room, the one you tell all your strong problems. You know, the unified man, the man that unifies the team, the youth, the problems, the coaches, the staff. This is the man that unifies all that. But if you are hearing week in and week out, day in and day out, that the player has got a soft, sustainable conversations taking place about his future moving forward, then that I don't know how that trickles down and how that has an impact. It's like going to your work that day knowing that your boss is desperate to leave and is going to leave, but doesn't actually say it, doesn't actually physically say it, but you know for a fact it's going to happen because they've alluded to it for such a long time. And I just don't know how I feel about that situation. I'm not taking anything away from Declan Rice. He's one of my favourite players I ever saw in the modern time. Will probably go down in my Hammers 11. I mean, it's a big feat to say that he will, but I mean, I can't take it away from the guy from the moment he's put on a West Ham strip, from what he's achieved in this West Ham strip, for what he's achieved with our club. It's been a fantastic outlet, but the concern is building upon a temporary fixture, and that's where I don't agree with. And I wonder if that's had a kind of knock-on effect, or one of the other reasons why we haven't performed that well. Has his head been turned? Is he interested in a move to Arsenal? Is he interested in a move to Man City? Is there any way at all West Ham are going to keep a hold of Declan Rice? I can't see it. And if we can't see it, and everyone can't see it, and the pundits can't see it, and then you're starting to hear stories, tapping up stories. They're not officially tapping up stories, but situations of Declan Rice is going to be heading in the summer. What does that do for West Ham? Where do we start again? We've got to find a new captain again. I think we've got a captain in the team. Don't doubt that for a second. I think Naif Aguerd has got the potential to be that. He speaks all many different languages. He looks like he's banterful. He looks like he's up for it. He looks like he's got the drive, the determination, and also a captain from the back. I've always kind of said that when you're a captain, I've always liked it's always appealed to me when you're a defender, not necessarily a goalkeeper, but particularly a defender, because you see from the back and you look forward rather than a striker. Maybe a little bit more okay that Declan Rice and Mark Noble were the captain because they were more a deep lying midfielder and they could visualize from that position. But for me, the defender is the real one. And, in the nicest possible way, we have to build, if Declan Rice is going, build without Declan Rice. And what is the future without Declan Rice? Because in theory, if he's building his future without West Ham, what are West Ham doing to build our future without Declan Rice? And, I believe a lot of this, I'm starting to kind of concern myself with this situation just now. And I wonder if this is where a lot of not all, some of the issues have crept in. You're a new signing coming into the club. Who's your club captain? Declan Rice. Oh, he's a great player, isn't he? He's off in the summer. What does that do for the mindset? Does that hit a negative mindset? Does that put you into a negative mindset? It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I've been sitting on this one for a little while. I've been thinking about it. Was it the right decision to give him the captaincy? Should he have been given the captaincy? I know Mark Noble's there. Mark Noble's made a few comments as if he's alluding to the fact that Declan Rice is going to go. And do we blame him? And I get that. I suppose it's the timing of the situation. Do we want to hear a club legend tell us it's the timing of Declan Rice's situation? Not necessarily. Do we want to hear the club manager say some of the stuff he says in interviews about having no fear of being sacked? No, not necessarily. It's not good. And all coming at a time when, we're potentially about to, for the first time this season, have a fully fit squad. And I don't know, like you're hearing these stories, Arsenal, Man City now showing a bit of an interest, and you can't help but think if Declan Rice is going to go, what are we going to do for the future? Who are we going to look at? And you're talking about players like Calvin Phillips, could come in, fill that spot, all that sort of stuff. But it's definitely going to make for an interesting final few months in the season. But what we all know is we need to pick up points. We need to do it no matter what. And I don't doubt for any second, and it's not even think, I don't doubt for any second that Declan Rice doesn't give West Ham 100%. Don't doubt that. I never will doubt that. Declan Rice does give West Ham 100% every single game he plays. My biggest concern will be, what does it do for the long term, the longevity, sustainability, the confidence, the growth of the club if you're giving a really popular player, really top-notch player, such a big role in the team, potentially knowing he's leaving? That's the concern I've got. Drop a note in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on what I've said. Do you agree with what I've said about the Declan Rice situation? Join us later on. We'll have the Hammers headlines. And then we will have another rant regarding Declan Rice, actually, from one of the other guys on the channel as well. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button. Why not? Support the channel. We're on the march towards 20,000 subscribers. Yes, you have heard me right. We are on the march towards that. So hit that subscribe button. Please leave a comment. Hit the thumbs up. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, hit the join option on that as well. Take it easy, everyone. Stay safe. And, of course, come on.